Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Full View. How's everybody doing? Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are doing well. Hit a like on the video, smash a like on that video, subscribe to the channel. If you guys are new, Sahbi's gone. Oh, Kenny's gone. No, there he is. He's back. Let's swap that background. There you go. We've got our family with us, Sahbi and Eyejax. How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. I have to say, it's the first time I saw that intro, but Josh is doing Just Things again. That's very, very sweet intro, man.
He's unstoppable. He's unstoppable. He's unstoppable. He really, really is. So great to have you guys here. I know that the chat, the community would love to ask you guys a lot of questions about a Ten Hag second season, how he deals with injuries, how he deals with players out of form, his transfers, talent ID, loads of stuff, loads of stuff. And obviously from the UV crew, UV family, Steph is back in. Big up, Steph.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. Glad to be back on a full view. It's been a while.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. There you go. Mina says, Steph. Ivan says, Steph is back. Happy days. And Shiva says, Steph, what's going on with the hair? Woo. Big hair today. Big hair today. Yeah. Big hair. Love that. El Natural today. And can't blame KG for being late. No, we can't. And Muka says, big up the panel and the chat. Kenny, no little Kenny today?
No little Kenny. No, he's with his family today. He's with his mum and dad. So gran and granddad's having a weekend off from him. So and he'll be back at school next week. So. Okay, but he loves it. Stuff. He loves it. He keeps checking how many views he's had, and you know what I mean. It's cost me £6 in super chat.
Take it out his pocket money, mate. Take it out his pocket money. There you go. Listen, we've got a lot to talk about during the show. Of course, we've got the guys from Amsterdam, from Ajax. So we want to ask about Ten Hag, but also we've got some in-house affairs to talk about. Marc Cucurella. Fabrizio Romano, reporting that Chelsea are open to letting him go. Shock, but on their terms, on their conditions, with a loan fee and salary, etc., etc. There's talks of Marcos Alonso from Barcelona. There's talks of Sofian Amrabat with Fiorentina, basically saying they've given up on the 30 million euros asking price for him and are looking at basically more options. Of how to basically move him on. It's not really possible for him to stay. He's not been in the team all pre-season and into the start of their season. So loads to get into. Let's just start just with the in-house United stuff. And guys, Sahbi and Eyejax, please feel free to join in. Obviously, this isn't just exclusive to Kenny and Steph and everyone else. We want you to be part of it and see what you guys think from the outside looking in. Steph, I'll start with you. Sting says there in the chat, panic. Ten Hag's transfer scramble. The fact that Luke Shaw's injured, it looks like he's injured for a while. We haven't heard anything on Malacia. Where do you stand on this? Should we be looking for in-house solutions, or are you pleased with the fact that we're out there looking for an emergency left back?
That all depends on whether we end up doing it as a loan deal with an option to buy, or we're actually buying someone. That's my first comment on that. But like right off the bat, what I would say about all of the news coming out this weekend, particularly after our kind of knuckle busting win over Nottingham Forest, is that I feel like we're shopping in Poundland. Apart from the price of the players isn't £1, it's like a rip-off because we're in the bargain basement right now. It's 5 days, until the end of the transfer window, and the options that we have to replace or fill in for Luke Shaw and Malacia, they're not of United caliber. Like I'm really, really, when it came out about Cucurella, I was like, no. I get it. Like he had a bad season. Maybe that was a one-off season for Cucurella, but his comments, he gave an interview to ESPN, and in those comments, it was frightening to me. His admission that he's not comfortable playing for big teams. He said, I come from a small team and, I wasn't used to it. And that's partly to do with, my failure like last season. I'm like, I don't want somebody with that mentality at our club. With regards to the long-term injuries with like Malacia and Shaw, I do think it's concerning. And I actually wouldn't put the blame on United or Ten Hag for this, because to have two of our left backs out for an extended period of time is pretty bad luck. So therefore, in my mind, I would prefer a loan deal. I don't think that we should necessarily be on the lookout to buy I would like to see Alvaro Fernandez get some starts. But yeah, if you had to sway me, I would steer clear of Cucurella. I would rather Alonso or Reguilon. I mean, the lesser of two evils, you know? That's my stance anyway.
Yeah. Kenny, what say you? Just as Steph was talking there's a little bit of news online sort of suggesting that Alvaro Fernandez is close to joining Granada on a season-long loan. It's imminent. That is from a very, very small outlet, Ideal Granada CF. Again, I'm not saying it carries loads of weight, but it was just interesting that I just saw that. But also, I think we can see already the fact that Ten Hag isn't really looking to use the young kid, Fernandez, is he? I don't think he thinks he's ready.
It's a shame because I thought he had a good pre-season when he came on and he played. But my concern was, you could tell yesterday Delos wasn't comfortable, and he did well, but he's in a completely unnatural position for himself. And with what we've also saw yesterday, we saw Varane once again get injured. So for me, I would prefer to see Martinez go left back, because I know he has played left back before, and then get another strong centre back in rather than a target left back, because you'll always be able to use that centre back. And if he's left sided, or we can move Martinez to the left side, then what you're not going to have, all of a sudden, we're going to have like 3 left backs that we won't need, because once they come back from fitness. But I think if you got a left-sided centre-back, then you could possibly rotate them with Martinez, and they will be used, because we know Varane's not going to do a full season. The likelihood is Maguire will go. He doesn't want to use him. So rather than be specific, and it was a bit like when we was going to go for the lad from Bayern Munich. It was Pavlov. I can't remember his name.
Pavard.
Pavard, yeah. But Pavard could play both right back and right centre back. So I understood that. I could buy into that, because you could move them along the line. And I think you could do the same if you went for a specific left-sided defender, not just a left back, because you're going to go for somebody that is not in 2 months' time is going to be surplus to requirements.
Yeah, that's why you don't want to spend too much on that. A few comments coming in. Mina saying letting Alvaro Fernandez go out on loan is crazy. He had the best loan spell at Preston last year. After Ahmad got their Young Player of the Year, he was really good. Why did we buy him from Real Madrid Academy to not use him? Joe says, why let Fernandez go on loan? So also agreeing with that. Avi says, Eyejax in the house. Should we be worried about Erik Ten Hag? He seems reluctant to change anything. Hold the fort there, Eyejax. You can see what's coming. You can see what's coming. And Red Baron says, I'm sorry, but we need our players to have asthma or something so we can use those City of Liverpool to use. It's so messed up. They never get injuries. I'll hold that fort there, Eyejax, on that. But just a question to you, Eyejax, and then for you as well, Sahbi. You just heard us speak about in-house solutions there. Is Ten Hag renowned for that? If he sees an opportunity in the market, maybe he would try and do that, or does he look for options within? Did you ever have any experience of that at Ajax, where you had to get someone on emergency loan?
It's both. You know, he's looking at the academy and what he has to his disposal within the team. But for a little background information, how long are we speaking of those injuries of Shaw and Malacia? Do we have a time frame that they're saying it's months or
Malacia? I'm going to be honest. Malacia, we've heard nothing. He didn't go on all of preseason. He has an unspecified injury. We haven't been told anything about that. So that's as unknown as it comes. Luke Shaw, the early reports were saying that he's going to miss weeks rather than months. And then reports came out after that saying that he could be out up until around November.
Yeah, I would opt for getting a loan deal in, just to have an extra player at your disposal for that left back position. I'm not the biggest fan of what Kenny suggested, because I think you guys had problems last year, especially with Maguire having 2 solid centre backs. So moving Martinez from that position into the left back position would be, for me, something that you give away from the central of the defense, to move him to that left back position. I would rather have him still play at that center back position because he's solid there for you guys. And to shift again with a center back, it's maybe more difficult to fill in than that left back position. I do not understand also why this guy is going on loan, because if you get another player in to fill in the gap in the meanwhile, you could at least have this guy as a backup for that backup that you're bringing in,
Yeah.
It makes sense what I'm saying. So I would opt for that. But the names that are being dropped, not the biggest fan to fill in that position for Man United. I would even rather have like an old Ajax guy like Tagliafico at that left back position, because he was great for us.
I mean, Daley Blind just went somewhere the other day, and we're like, if he would have hung on a little bit, I'd have taken him back.
Yeah,
for a few months.
So I know you guys maybe are fed up with all those Ajax links, but he's a much better player than the ones mentioned in the stream up until now. But it makes sense what Kenny is saying, because Martinez can play that left back position. But why should you play him as a left back if his strongest position is that central defense position, and he's doing there a solid job for you guys? And that's not been the case like last seasons with Maguire. So I would rather not make him do that transition, even if it's necessary at the moment. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Sahbi?
No, I mean, I have nothing really to add on what Eyejax said. My take is more on, you guys are United. Why settle for bench players of your competitors? Why go for a Cucurella who had a shitty season last season and doesn't even play at this moment? The same applies for Reguilon. He is a bench player at this moment, if I recall correctly.
Not even a bench player. He's just Ange Postecoglou wants him out of Spurs.
Well,
it's not even
here
a
you go. Player. Here you go. And then why settle as United, guys? You guys are United. Yeah. One of the biggest clubs, and you want to settle with certain bench players. Exactly the same applies for Alonso, a bench player for Barcelona. Although it's for a few months, you can look a bit further and then go for a player that at least has that rhythm to start playing for United at once. And a player like Nico Tagliafico is an example, indeed. I haven't really got specific examples, but I wouldn't settle for certain players from a competitor who ask for probably a huge fee or taking over salary. So you're basically helping them out. Instead of helping them out, you should look for another option.
Red Baron is saying the reason why is because those players are cheap and we're run by the Glazers, mate, and we haven't got much money right now. That's why we're trying to bring in other players too.
I'm being honest with you guys here, and I've been baffled by the transfer targets that you got in this season. I'm not saying they're bad players, but the striker from Atalanta, I do not know how to pronounce it correctly, Højlund. But also Mason Mount. The amount that you paid for Mount, it's crazy. Not even like a player that, in my opinion, is like of the Man United standard. He didn't bring that much last season, and the amount you paid for him. So the argument for me that you run by the Glazers, that's true. But if you spend like 140 millions on those 2 players, that could have been spent maybe elsewhere for players that are more established, or maybe have more potential in them. But that's just my take. I'm not saying that Højlund guy is not the real thing and that he could not become the real thing, but it's still a gamble. And you need somebody there also in that striker position to deliver something that you are lacking within the team at the moment. And the same with Mount. He's actually playing the same role as Bruno plays. He's your captain. You're not going to pass Bruno up, so you have to play him in a secondary position on the wings, for example, because his main position, in my opinion, is the role that Bruno plays for you. So that doesn't make sense for me. But I'm just veering a bit from the question, but it just popped up in my head when I saw the comment. We do not have the money. You did have the money, but what did you do with it?
Well, this is where I think it goes on to the guy that we all have in common, Erik Ten Hag. Because we're talking about talent ID, and Kenny and Steph, feel free to chip in wherever here. I'll pose the first question. I don't even know his talent ID, Ten Hag's talent ID. Because you're right, we've had best part 140 million there, and that's what we spent it on. Onana, understand. Mason Mount, I think the criticism after 1 or 2 games is a bit harsh, but I definitely can understand the argument of, is this going to be the right guy to sign? 100% understand that. And Højlund, who we don't know yet, a lot of money for an unproven kid. I get that. Are you surprised by that from Ten Hag, or was there a few, buys that he did at Ajax that you wasn't sure of? A lot of people are onto Antony as well. I've been very critical of Antony. I'm not going to shy away from that. And that was someone who Ten Hag really wanted, someone you guys know very well. What'd you say to that, Eyejax? But where some Man United fans have questioned Ten Hag's sort of ID of transfers.
You have to answer a question to me first, if you mind, because
I
know that Ten Hag asked for a lot of power when he got the job. He negotiated for that, and at Ajax he had a situation that he had a veto. Same with Mark Overmars when he was still in his position at our club. So if one of those two didn't agree with the signing to come in, it wouldn't happen. So how is the situation at your club? Do you know this? Is Ten Hag solely responsible for it, or is is it Richard Arnold?
It's John Murto, yeah. It's John Murto, part of the talent ID and stuff. But it does very much feel. And do you guys agree, Steph and Kenny? Would you agree? And in the chat that a lot of these transfers are led by Ten Hag. These are Ten Hag signings. We wanted Pau Torres. He said he wanted Martinez, so we got Martinez. We went for Timber first, didn't get him.
Be aware a little bit with making a statement about that, Flex, because if I do not know how the situation is, if I do not know if Ten Hag is solely responsible for it, or does he have a veto, or this other guy?
I would feel comfortable saying these are Ten Hag signings personally.
Well, if it's Ten Hag, I do not know, because at Ajax we knew how the situation was, so it's easier to judge it. But yeah, it baffles me some of the targets that he wants, because especially with Mount, Højlund, it's still early to judge, because he could be like a really good striker. He's young, it's a great prospect. But let's be honest, he didn't have like a big track record. He did well last season, but not an established name yet. But with Mount, it baffles me. With Onana, I think it's a good signing, because I think this is a keeper that can bring something to the team that you lacked with David De Gea. So I am fully behind that one. But yeah, the season has to prove if it's smart or not. And for me, at first, also hearing that you were approaching signing Mount, it baffled me. I thought this isn't a signing for Man United. And also, how the scouting, you guys know how the scouting system works at your club. It seems to me a little bit like lazy scouting, Are you guys really intensively scouting like South America or other competitions to find those gems, instead of picking up a gem from Atalanta that did their scouting and paying 70 million for it? Because there's still a lot of great players in the market for more of a bargain price than going for a semi-proven, prospect that maybe can shine at your club. This is something that I like to know, but I cannot judge because of the situation.
I think the problem this season, more than any other, is historically we always sign a shirt seller. We love a marketing idol or whatever, an icon, and we all latch onto it. But I think what's happened is with the sale of the club, there was an expectation that this club would have been sold just after Christmas. And we as fans were all on all fan channels and groups were talking about, are we having Osimhen or Kane? Are we having Tchouaméni?
That seems like ages ago.
Exactly. But it's a fact. It's a fact. And I honestly think that if we'd have had the Saudi or even the other group or whatever, then I think we would have seen what we would call shirt sellers. They would have been big signings. You'd have had an Osimhen or a Kane, because as a new owner, you would have wanted to make a statement. What's happened, for whatever reason, the delay of the sale has meant that the Glazers have probably said, whoa, hang on a minute here. We recognise we have to spend a amount of money, and I dare say they've got some informal agreement with potentially whoever's going to come in and say, look, we'll spend the 200 million, but that's being added to the total cost or whatever, because as next year you have to be in the Champions League for your value, etc. So I do think, from a fan's point of view, we wouldn't have chosen Mason Mount. We wouldn't have chosen. We'd have had the other lad. We would have him as a second. We was expecting Kane or Osimhen and Højlund or Ferguson from Brighton. It was the second one, not just one. And now we're playing with, and we've got, Tony Marshall yesterday. Martial's still with us, and we're bemused. But deep down, we know we haven't sold the club. So you're not going to get... I think January could be different. I honestly think January could be different. Because if you got the money, you can have whoever you want. So if someone comes in and says, right, Eric Ten Hag, who do you want? Well, I want Camavinga, whoever. This is who I want. This is who I want. They'll get him. And I think because they will then make that statement. There was no statement to be made this summer. And all we've done is piecemealed. We've piecemealed. Yep. We've had a broken jigsaw. And, well, who do we put there? Well, if he gets injured and this. And we was all led to believe a month ago. I remember the first full view going back about a month ago. And it's like, well, next week, it's the first game of the season. Maguire's going to West Ham. McTominay's going to West Ham. Fred's going. Oh, we've got rid of all the Edward. Oh, who we're bringing in? Let's bring who we wanted.
Didn't happen. Yeah. We didn't sell. Kenny's frozen now. I'm just going to get these super chats out and then come to Steph. I know she's got some questions for you guys as well. And in general, Keegan says, I don't see Eric Ten Hag keeping and playing Alvaro. We haven't seen him play the youth match that much besides in pre-season. I question all three of the players that we're linked to. Show says, saw this 2 years ago under Ollie, scraping it against crap teams, then held 5 against Liverpool, and then it all fell apart. Arsenal next week, we're going to hold 5. Hopefully not. Red Baron says they are cheap and we're run by the Glazers. Picked up on it earlier. Georgia says the way these injuries have started early on, we could have a season like Liverpool last season. Ahmed says Eric Ten Hag wanted Kim Min-jae and Kane, to name a couple. Other than Antony and Martinez, all other signings are not his signings. And all his other signings requests were denied. I think Malacia is probably his signing as well. But yeah, I see what you mean, because you can say Casemiro probably wasn't, because he wanted Frankie de Jong the whole summer. That's who we really wanted. Yeah. So I get what you're saying there. Avi says, I believe in Eric Ten Hag, just worried about a lack of change. And Red Baron says, Mount good for English quota, innit? Just basically to have another English player in there. Havish says, Romano had confirmed that Eric Ten Hag has the final sign-off on signings. Mount was his signing because he fit the requirements off the ball and on the ball. Yeah, and Onana was his signing as well, because someone else said it was only Antony and Martinez that his signings. I disagree, actually, now I think about it. There's a few there that are definitely his signings. And Keegan says, scouts are having paella in Spain. They're not doing any work. Steph?
Yeah, just first of all, specifically talking about this summer transfer window right now, the one thing that stands out to me is how Ten Hag was adamant. You know, Mount was our first signing, and Eric Ten Hag was like, yeah, he kind of honed in on Mount. In my mind, looking back now, obviously hindsight is a blessing, but I look at it in the sense that maybe, just maybe, Ten Hag thought that he would have unlimited funds because it was likely that the Saudi ownership was taking over. In which case, he may have thought, well, why not make Mount a priority? Because I know that the Glazers are going to sell and we're going to get Saudi, and I'll have more free reign. Qatar. Sorry.
Yeah.
Qatar.
Yeah, Saudi already got Newcastle. They can't.
Sorry, you know what it is though? I've got Newcastle on the brain because I just watched the Liverpool.
Yeah, because you just watched it.
I have as well.
But yeah, no. So in Eric Ten Hag's mind, he might have thought, okay, Qatar are coming in. I potentially will have unlimited funds. It doesn't matter the order of priorities in which I bring my players in. And I think that especially with regards to Eyejax, your comments about Rasmus Højlund. Yes, he's fresh and he's raw and he's young, but it was always the case, as we all knew at the beginning of the transfer window, we wanted 2 strikers. We wanted the shirt signer, like Kenny said. We wanted the Kane, we wanted the Osimhen, and we also wanted somebody of the caliber like Højlund. And again, going back to that, in Eric Ten Hag's mind, he's like, well, great, let me sign Højlund and I'm going to get, a Class A top striker, world class. That hasn't transpired because the Glazers are still sitting around picking their butthole. Excuse my language.
It's the wrong order, right, Steph? It's the wrong order because, in my opinion, if you pay 70 million for Højlund and you pay 70 million for Mount, you could have easily just. I know Daniel Levy is a tough negotiator, but just pay the 100 million, get a proven striker within your squad that will deliver you goals and is great in that position, pay that 100 million and then go for your secondary striker, then go for a Mason Mount, because Mason Mount's position is already covered by Bruno Fernandes. And the striker position is the most necessary one. So why go for your second target first? Like
I'm not sorry, to clarify, I'm not defending Erik Ten Hag's choice in Mason Mount. I don't get the signing. I just don't understand it. Furthermore, I don't think that Bruno and Mason can play together, like in the midfield in a pivot. I just don't think it works. I can't envisage what Erik Ten Hag's trying to do. I think actually it makes our midfield worse by having both of them play at the same time, particularly because in my mind, whether this is because Mount's a new signing and he's trying to get used to our squad and the way we play, but his lack of discipline, like positionally, from the first 2 games that I saw, it's almost as if it's infectious. Like Mount has the lack of discipline that Mount has. It also affected Bruno and where he was positioned, like during the games. I'm not saying for 90 minutes of all the games they played this season, the 2 games that they played, but I'm just saying it just makes life a lot more difficult, and I do not get the signing. However, in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. Why did Ten Hag do it this way around? Why did he make Mount a priority?
I think do you know what, Steph? I personally think he just really wanted Mount, you know. I don't think he was thinking about any like money afterwards, or I think, because if you think about it, if you look at the timeline, in January we were potless and had to get Wout Weghorst and Sabitzer. So I think by the time we got to August, and the takeover thing has always just been rumbling, where I personally think he's none the wiser. He has no idea, just like we have no idea. And I think that when it came to the first set of money, what we were seeing was like, again, I know you never 100% know, but a lot of the reports were saying like Ten Hag's made it clear he wants Mount, like it's only Mount, like he wants Mount, like, 100%. And I'm like, then I was like, because I'm back in Ten Hag and I love Eric, I'm like thinking, okay, so Mount's probably going to work because of X or because of Y, movement off the ball, makes space, good runner, technically good, might not get loads of, but I'm trying to think of it in a Ten Hag way, and I just think it's as simple as the early signs have just been worrying, where he's like, where he doesn't, the balance has just looked off. But I do think he wants him. And then the thing of the 7 shirt as well, maybe that's Man United, like what Kenny said. We need someone to fill that shirt now, because we can't just keep having that vacant. We need to sell some shirts. That's a very Man United thing to do. That really is a very Man United. Like, a lot of people didn't care about that. A lot of people didn't care about the 7 thing. At the time, I went, hang on a minute.
I cared.
I cared as well. I'm with you on that. I cared. I was like, nah. But then again, out of back in Ten Hag, I was like, well, you know, it takes a lot of guts to take that shirt. You know, I'd rather look at the positives and say, well, there's a new player coming in saying, I'll have it. The people who have had it recently have been rubbish, and Ten Hag must really rate him. So actually, maybe it's a good thing. That's how I felt about it. But I just think that I do think that Ten Hag really wanted him.
He actually already wanted him at Ajax, when he
I forgot
when
about
Mount
that.
was playing at Vitesse.
Yeah,
he was on loan at Vitesse. He already wanted him. So maybe it's like a missing opportunity back then, and now he's trying to pick him up or something, because I still don't understand myself the transfer, why, and with such a huge amount. I think he had a 1-year contract, right, at Chelsea.
Yeah, 1 year left, yeah.
And you're paying such a huge amount. It's like you're paying the United tax, because United always overpay on transfers, whatever you guys want to buy. But yeah, it's ridiculous if you look at the amount. It's a UK player, okay, but probably Ten Hag wants to play with 1 pivot, maybe try to play with 2 10s. I don't know, but normally
that's how he has been playing. Yeah, 2 10s.
But that's it's not balanced at this moment. So I don't know whether it's a good idea to keep on playing them both.
I agree with you, Sahbi, because the United tax, but it's also something that you do as a club yourself, also, because look at that Antony situation last season. If you just were faster with the negotiations, you would have bought him for like 70. Same with Kane. If you just had that negotiation sooner with more power behind, you would have probably signed him for 90 million without Bayern being in the equation yet. So it's something also with the negotiations that it drags on and it drags on and it drags on. then sometimes you miss out or you overpay, or you go to a secondary option and you pay like the biggest amount for it, you know, like 70 million for Mount. So it also has to do with the negotiations, in my opinion.
Yeah. Can I just quickly jump in, because you, Sahib, you were talking about, Sahbi, you were talking about Erik Ten Hag wanting Mount when he was at Ajax, and it kind of sparked a question in my mind that I want to ask you guys both. Erik Ten Hag seems to have, like, he's very obsessive. Like, he's a very obsessive character, and it doesn't seem like he lets things go. And I can't speak for all of our fan base, but for me recently, particularly, you know, after the first 3 games of this season, I'm thinking, he's very stubborn. And I'm just wondering, what road did that lead him down at Ajax? And how successful was he being that stubborn with the Ajax team? Because I don't think it's working at United.
Yeah, I mean, the stubbornness is quite known to us with Ten Hag. He basically kept on playing the same 11 all over again. He didn't rotate at all, or he didn't do his substitutions early. Always waited until the 70th or 80th minute. So he drove us crazy back then.
Huh? The same substitution also.
The same substitutions, indeed. The same 11, and that's one of the reasons why players got injured somewhere after the winter break, because he kept on playing them clean, and that was one of the reasons why we were really criticizing him back then. Although he did get results, but the way he got results, the road to it, the process to it, that was really bumpy, and it shows now as well. He keeps on playing the same players. Antony on the right wing. I know a lot of you fans criticizing him on the right wing. The way you guys are criticizing him is only fueling him by keep on playing him on the right wing, because he's stubborn. He wants to prove himself right by keep on playing Antony and showing that he's the right buy, he's the right player on that right position, and he will do it for us. But he doesn't care about the fans, and not caring about the criticism of the fans. I mean, and that's his stubbornness. He wants to be right. He wants to prove himself right, and that can be an issue at some point, especially with a huge club as United.
Could I just ask, as a follow-on to that, I was at the games today, and we was 3-2 up, and there was 10 minutes left, and I took Antony off. And to be fair, I thought Antony played very well yesterday. I thought he was excellent. I really did. And I expected a Palestra to come on, or a Garnacha, and he brought Scott McTominay on. And then for the last 10 minutes, we put ourselves under a lot of pressure because with no outlet.
I was fuming that last 10 minutes.
Then, what made it worse, when the 4th official stuck it up, he stuck another 13 minutes up. So in theory, Scott McTominay was on for 25 minutes. where I think everybody thought he was on for 10. And we just looked at a completely different team because we had absolutely no outlet. Now, in the past, United, if you're 3-2 up, United go for 4-2. United go for 5-2. Does Ten Hag, is he quite risk averse and think, oh no, I'm protecting what I have. And in protecting what he had yesterday, we nearly slipped up, because bringing Scott McTominay on for me was a mistake, although we won the game, because we had no outlet. We had no outlet.
But you know what? I think he wanted to bring on the hype, because at that point they brought on Chris Wood. They were going direct with Alanga. They were doing long throws. They were having a lot of crosses, and I think he probably just thought, I need still got physicality in there. But you're right. It swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Because it's actually
kind of deja vu for us, because what you just mentioned about substituting Antony for McTominay, it brings us back to the Champions League semi-final of Ajax against Tottenham, where we where it was 2-2, and he substituted our striker back then for a defender, Magallan, and at that time we were doing well. But because of that substitution, we got pressed, and at the end, the last second, we conceded that goal, which was the most horrible night of my football life.
Mate.
And
honestly, I'm feeling your pain. Just when I just forgot it was Ten Hag there for a sec. Like because that was a while ago and he's our manager now and we spoke and I forgot. Yeah, that was Ten Hag.
Yeah, and the worst thing about that thing is it was against Tottenham, so that makes it worse.
Even worse, indeed.
Yeah.
It's probably the stubbornness again, trying to balance maybe midfield or what Flex just said with the height, try to bring in a player who can win headers, but it's sometimes difficult for me to understand how he operates.
But it's also the bad mentality, also thinking to get the 3 points that way, because you're one man up. They are going to press, so they are going to give away a lot of room at their half, So it would be smarter to keep Antony on to counter on that room that is at your disposal when they lose the ball. Instead of that, you bring in an extra defensive-minded player, and I understand because maybe of the height problem, but you are bringing problems to your own squad and to your own team that way. So instead of having the mentality, I want to grab those 3 points, you can also think we're going to get some room. We have to be tight and defend well, and then go into that room and counter upon it with fast players like Rashford, like Antony, and just make another goal. But now you're like parking the bus, falling back against a team that's a man down, and you bring on problems yourself. So I do not understand the way he was thinking when making that decision.
But then even our decisions during that game, sorry, Steph, even our decisions during the game management, like Kenny said, in that last 15 minutes against 10 men, Rashford was through and he needs to make the right pass, but we make the wrong option. Bruno tried a couple crossfield passes in that little period of the game, and again you're like, keep the ball, boys. What? You don't even have to go for a fourth if you can maintain a level of control over this game. And one thing that's been eluding us is control. Every single Man United game is like a basketball match so far, and not even just the 3 games this season. I'm talking about, I don't think we've played well since the Carabao Cup final, I'm going to say. We beat Barcelona on the Thursday, and then the Sunday we had the Carabao Cup final. And since then, I don't think we've been anywhere near it. I honestly think we've been playing poorly. And yeah, we're going to win games because I think we've got good players in individual moments and stuff, so we win games. But in terms of the control and the way we win, if I was to say Kenny and Steph, if I was to say, and you guys in the chat, what was the last Man United performance where you said that was a really good performance from minute 1 to minute 90? Because I'm saying Spurs at home.
Well, if you said from minute 11 to minute 90, I'd have said yesterday. I thought they played well yesterday. No, I did.
Forget the first 11 when we're 2 down.
Yeah, forget that. But I never ever thought in that game we was going to lose. I never did. Once we got.
Did you not?
No, I did. No, I didn't. I thought we created a lot. We was creating lots of chances, and I'm thinking, I just wish Martial was fit because he'd have had 2 or 3 goals. But I honestly, and the people around me as well, and the people I went with, all said something similar. They really enjoyed the performance after the first 10 minutes. I thought there was a lot of positives. I did. I thought Antony.
Worrying things, man.
Oh, we'll always see with him. Do you not think Antony played well?
Antony improved. Bruno. Yeah, I've been one of his biggest critics, and Antony improved, and Bruno was magnificent.
I'm hearing like the negatives that the fans are saying, and the guys, what you are saying also within this chat, it's logical that you have those, thoughts about him and about the way it's going, but you have to put it in perspective also. Go back like 1.5 years where you guys were under Rangnick, and under Oli. Go back to how you performed last season. We already said prior to when he was like hired, it's going to be a bumpy road. It's going to take some time, but I believe you guys were ending 3rd last season, right? Yeah. Okay, you won the cup in the National Cup. You did quite well in Europe. Okay, you went out against Sevilla, I believe, right? Yeah. But you had some great games also against Barcelona. It isn't going to be like from 0 to 100 in a short period. So that he already put that 3rd place, that he won for you guys a cup again, after so many times. And also, don't forget, it wasn't peachy this season yet, but he won 2 out of 3. And I know it wasn't great yet, but it's still a process that you are in. You are bringing in new players. You're trying to mold the team still into a big, good unit together, but it takes time. You have to have new puzzle pieces implemented within the squad. So yes, I understand the worries that you have, and I do agree with the stubbornness. I do agree with the one-trick pony kind of thing, because this were the same doubts that I had when he was at Ajax, the same criticisms I had. Like, he cannot turn a game around, you know? It's always the same discipline. It's the same substitution. It's the same stubbornness. But also, this stubbornness brings him results in the end, because it's a it's a blade with 2 sides, you know? A good one and a bad one, that stubbornness. But still, do not forget where you came from, and that the process that you have ahead of you. And if you now already start losing faith in the coach or have your doubts, just give it some time and try to see the bigger picture. That's the only thing I can, say about that.
Steph, the floor's going to be yours. I know you want to chip in there. I'm just going to get these super chats out, and then the floor's yours. KG's hairstylist says, if honest, I don't get the Mount signing. We needed a partner for Casemiro. Would have been good for us to get another defensive midfield. Levy wouldn't sell Kane to us for 100 million. Divas says Erik Ten Hag wanted Mount to play German style with 2 8s in defense and 2 10s in attack. People want solution now. Klopp took 5 seasons. This is not the Dutch league. Havish says Pep has been dominating with 2 number 8s. Erik Ten Hag is trying to evolve our team, and it will take time. It will work as the season goes on. Rosbit, just thank you for the contribution. RK says our only signing will be a left back now. If Amrabat was going to happen, it would have. And looks like Donny and Scott are both staying. Shambles of a window again. Well, I know I can sense the frustration, but there has been a little bit on Amrabat sort of today about the asking price coming down. He hasn't been training with Fiorentina, and Fabrizio Romano has said that they're waiting for the bid to come in from Man United. Of course, it's frustrating. There has been no bid yet. But I would still hold the fort on that one. I think if anything is going to happen, I think it will be the emergency left back of some sort, which it looks like that's going to be the case. And I think Amrabat. And remember, we've sold Dean Henderson now for 15 million plus 5 add-ons as well. So if we can get Donny somewhere, then hopefully we can get some money for him too. Keegan says the Mount signing will either be great or he will be the new Maguire, dependent on Erik Ten Hag's ability to coach him into the player he wants, similar to Wan-Bissaka. And Danny says, for Ajax boys, when will Erik Ten Hag bench players he buys? Palestri more unpredictable and more likely to feed Højlund as the rest all cut in and shoot. Hold that thought, guys. We'll come back to that after Steph comes in. And Starlord says, it's been a pleasure, Flex. Big up the UV community. Best on YouTube by a country mile. I love Erik Ten Hag's stubbornness. In Ten Hag, I trust. Thank you, Starlord. Been a member for 14 months. So big up to you. Loads of super chats here. Rosbit says, I believe Bruno was trying to frustrate Mount in the team. Played woeful when Mount was in the team and gave it all when Mount was absent. Shame on Bruno for playing good and being captain. Yeah, he's done it on purpose. Wow. I mean, conspiracy theories there from Rosbit. Yeah, Bruno doesn't like Mount. That's what he's come to. Diva says, Steph, it's not working. He got 75 points last season, more than any team in the last 5 seasons who finished 3rd, and more points than Ollie when he finished 2nd. Factos. Hold that thought, Steph. You come straight back in that. I know you're ready. there. Paolo. Oh, big up Paolo. Big up Paolo. Says it's a natural process. It won't be perfect, especially in such a competitive league now. Big up everyone. Bruno Fernandes is a true captain, or in Paolo's words, Bruno Fernandes. Yeah. There you go, Paolo. We've got to put respect on his name after yesterday. He was very good. Ahmed says, Antony playing marginally better than he usually does not automatically qualify to be called a good performance. He was absolute crap, flash with no product, and all take and give away. Oh, strong words from Ahmed, not having it. And finally, Santiago, big up Santiago, says Martial hasn't played a full 90 minutes with this team since September 2021. And we want to pressure an unproven 20-year-old to carry us at number 9. Yeah, exactly. Steph.
So just in response to Divas's super chat, saying that it's questioning me about saying it's not working. I'm not talking in relationship in last season. I think last season we overachieved. We went beyond all of our expectations. I think we can all agree. What I mean by it's not working is I can't see what he's trying to do with Bruno and Mount. That's specifically what I meant by it's not working. I can't see that yet. But as other super chats have come in and Ayejax and Sahbi, you guys have both said that just give it time. Erik Ten Hag's cooking, and I do trust Erik Ten Hag, so I'll be willing to be patient with that and see how that transpires. What frightens probably is a too strong a word, but what worries me is after 3 games of this season is I don't feel as if we have a style of play. We have moments in the game, flashes of brilliance. We all know that. As United fans, we're all used to that. Individual brilliance, moments FC. But what's more disturbing is that even after our 3 signings, I can't see how he's... it just doesn't work. I get that he wants to have more possession. We want to press up high, dominate behind the box. But look what dominate in the opposition's box. But look what happened yesterday with the first goal we conceded from our corner. Ayejax and Sahbi, I don't know if you watched the game, but we conceded our first goal from a corner because we were so high, and Rashford was the last man. I don't get what he's trying to do. I feel like in transitions we are so sloppy, and it's almost as if the players are trying to remember everything Erik Ten Hag's saying in their heads, but they cannot do it. They can't do what Erik Ten Hag's asking them to do. They can't press high, be around the box, and then they forget about the last man. I don't know.
Let me just try to answer that a little bit. We've been in that position many times with Ajax also. When the season starts, it's a little bit rusty. The players come back, they need to gel together. You have new players that are coming in. You have to make a unit again of the team. And we started steamrolling during those first few months, and especially from January onwards. We've had a few seasons that we were really, really, really good, and that some puzzle pieces started coming together. Then we had the same doubts, like what is he doing, and why isn't he altering certain stuff? Why isn't he intervening earlier, like at halftime with certain substitutions? And then it started clicking. I'm not saying it will be the same for you guys, but his implementation of style takes a little bit of time. And in the meanwhile, if you can get the results in, if you can grab as many points as you can in the process, the end product will be there. I have faith in that ability of the coach to mold the team and the style that he wants to play. But it is a process, so you cannot have it both ways. You could maybe play more beautiful style of football, but maybe concede more and lose more points. So there has to be a little bit of balance working towards that end product.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Max, you're muted. Max, you're muted.
You're muted, Flex.
You're muted.
There you go. The lights went out, Steph. I don't know what happened. They said.
Right. Listen, I don't even know if I can get into that. That's a bit personal.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's right. DJ Talk says, big up DJ. DJ says, couple missing pieces to this team. You can see that Ten Hag wants to build. I think we just need Glazers out, guys. We do. You know what? I just think it's like a culmination of loads of things, and then you start panicking. And I do this all the time. I start worrying and I overthink things. I think essentially there's just little bits of like comments that I think that can just all be true simultaneously. I think there is some stubbornness from Ten Hag to persist with certain players. I think it's a valid point to say Rashford started up front, didn't play up front. No. Doesn't look comfortable up front. You played Jadon Sancho false 9. Then when he's come off the bench a couple of times, you didn't play him in the middle. You played him on the left. So that doesn't make sense. You brought Mount in the first 2 games. Obviously didn't look good, but you have to give things time. I get that. But then there's things like Ten Hag could easily say, what do you want me to do if Aaron Wan-Bissaka misses a duel and we're running back towards our own goal because he's made a mistake? What do you want me to do from a free kick where Dallow's been an idiot and fouled somebody? Then they get the chance to cross it. I think it's Wan-Bissaka and Martinez kind of half header it, but don't quite get it. And it hits Willy Bolly and goes in. That's not tactical. That's the players being Wallies and making individual mistakes. True. What do you want me to do when Ben Davies takes a P-roller and Martinez kicks it in the goal? Like, these are like, he could say that they're tactical things. And he also said that the forwards aren't working hard enough. they just keep giving away the ball. Like, they got quality, and I'm working on building up. But if you give the ball away in bad areas and then aren't willing to run back quick enough to help out, then you're going to leave Casemiro to drown. You're going to leave Bruno isolated. You're going to not give Varane and Martinez a break because they're getting rained on. Then you look at the substitutions that Ten Hag makes. Not, you know, where's Palestri? Started Garnacho a couple of times. So they can all be kind of true. And I hear what you're saying, Steph. It's like you're trying to pin down, like, where is it? Why is this happening? Like, why is this happening? Because there's only 10 minutes left. I wanted to ask you guys 2 questions, though, in particular. A couple of questions, actually. We'll try and get as many questions as you can because I know there's only 10 minutes left. So here's my first couple, and you guys think of some more as well. My first question is Antony. How I've been criticizing him. I've seen a lot of deficiencies in his game. And for anyone who says, what about Sancho? Absolutely right. Been 2 years of absolute dross, by the way. Absolutely agree with that. But he's not in the team right now. So I'm talking about the guys that are in the team. Is criticism on him harsh, or does he take time? He's still adapting. Do you believe in his ability? Or how do you see it? Because I've been criticizing him. A lot of people have been.
No, I mean, yeah, of course he should be criticized. He's playing already for more than a year now at United. But there's always a but. We need to be aware that he always keeps defenders busy. Yeah? There's always 1 or 2 defenders which he keeps busy, which creates, of course, space for others to attack along. And yeah, he should. I mean, in the Netherlands, everything went well. It was he started from scratch and started scoring and assisting for us.
So he didn't frustrate you. Did you ever have any periods of frustration with Antony where it's like he either slows the game down, end product not there, crossing when he should shoot when he should cross, like that kind of thing? Did you have experience?
No, definitely. But what I often see at United is he gets his ball at his feet. I don't understand why there are no passes in like no deep passes because his strength is his speed. He's technically gifted, although he always cuts inside and so on. He has those flashy plays, but if you look at his speed, it's ridiculous. Why don't you use, or at least why does United don't use that strength of him? Because just give him a through pass, he will get that. But I only see balls coming at his feet and then trying to surpass his drill past his player, or always cutting inside. But you need to find a way of utilizing him. And besides giving the ball at his feet, try to do it a bit differently. I mean, Bruno with his ball control, he can easily give those through passes to Antony, and I don't see that often. And sometimes it shows that Antony is crap, so to say, but he can still be an asset for United. I'm positive about that.
Very briefly, because I think everything that Sahbi said is spot on, but there's a deeper layer still there. I think there's a coaching decision behind it that you can blame Ten Hag for, because if you look at the player that Antony is, there are 2 options there. What Sahbi said is totally true. He tries to cut inside all the time. He's not going long and go to his right feet to be like a little bit unpredictable to the defender, you know? So you have 2 things. Or you have to play a fullback that overlaps and that is technically gifted so that they can go into that room when he cuts inside. We had that with Mazraoui. It was a great tandem and that worked a lot. Or Antony goes wide and the fullback cuts inside. Or you have to coach him better to make him unpredictable. So force him to go a few times within the match to the end line and go to his right feet. Because he's turning into an Arjen Robben right now. They know he cuts inside. He can try to go for that long shot, but he doesn't have the ability like Robben had, because he scored a lot of those goals. So
he's not Robben.
Either the coach is not coaching him well to go wide also and be unpredictable, and accept also that's a work in progress, so that he needs to grow in that area. Or you have to play a fullback that can overlap and that's technically gifted to go into that space that he leaves behind when he cuts inside. True. So either way, the coach is making a wrong decision there, and that is something that you can blame Ten Hag for, in my opinion. For example, you wanted to add.
Yeah. Kenny, any questions for the boys?
Should we sign Gravenbach?
Hmm.
Sign Gravenbach. I'm asking them.
I love the guy. I think he's a great prospect, but also with Gravenberg. I don't have to.
Yeah, we can't. Oh, mate,
we can't say it. We can't pronounce it.
Let's just say the lad Ryan. Should we sign the lad Ryan?
Yeah, Gravenberg. I think he's a great player, but it's still the same. You know, he's been benched at Bayern München still, and when he left Ajax, he's a great prospect. So if you can get him at the right price, yes, get him in, because he has a lot of abilities that can help Man United out. But he isn't a finished product yet. He's been benched for a year, so do not expect him to be the full product that is there immediately in the Premier League, delivering match after match. So it is a work in progress, but he is crazy talented, and he has a lot of stretch within his ability still. So do not make a deep dive into him, Kenny, like all his traits, abilities, weaknesses. Go for him for the right price, maybe 25, 30 million. It's a bargain, it's a steal. It's the same thing that they paid us with 1 year contract left. But it is a work in progress, but he can be a tremendous player for the future.
100%. Yeah,
Steph?
Totally agree.
Yeah, just going back to your comments on Antony. So just to clarify, you're saying that if Bruno made more through passes, and if we had our right backs like Dalot or Wan-Bissaka, for example, overlap more, you think that we would see more from Antony? Is that correct?
I cannot touch upon that first part, because that was Sahbi saying the Bruno through passes, but it's not that you see much more of Antony, but you make use of the things that he's doing now for the squad. Because when he cuts inside, he leaves room behind for the fullback to go in and overlap. If you do not have a capable fullback to handle that role, you actually limiting your options as a team, because you get predictable and you're not making how do you say that? You're not using the opportunities that he leaves behind with the way he plays. That is what the coach, in my opinion, does wrong in that area.
I don't necessarily think I don't necessarily think that's on an Erik Ten Hag though, because I'm thinking if it's down to the players to maximise that space that Antony vacates on the pitch if he cuts inside. Surely, if Dalot or Wan-Bissaka could see the space, you know, we all know that. Well, we would all say that Antony's a one-trick pony right now. He just runs down the line and then cuts in and tries to shoot on his left foot. In which case, surely Dalot and Wan-Bissaka would have realised by now to occupy that space on the overlap, but they don't really seem to do that often. I'm not saying they've never done it. I'm just saying they don't do that as much as I believe that they should do.
But the thing that is like the thing that you're saying is with Wan-Bissaka and with Dalot, they do not have that capabilities, in my opinion. So you can ask them, you cannot ask from them to see the opportunities or to be the technical player, because they're not those fullbacks that overlap and have that qualities. So if you do not have that kind of player within your squad, realize that you need to play differently with Antony. Let him go wide, let him train his weaker foot, and make him more unpredictable. Because if you let him play like he does now, and you do not have somebody to go into that room and have that ability, you're limiting your team.
Yeah.
So either way, adjust the way Antony plays and demand that from him as a coach.
Yeah.
Or get a fullback in that can handle that role and be as a threat for United in that space that he leaves behind. Yeah. Because Dalot and Bissaka are not going to do that for you.
So you're going to put a bit on left back.
Sorry?
We need a right back and a left back.
We need to alter the style of play. That's an option.
I'm going to put Eyejax. I'll be honest though. I'm going to put a bit on an Antony on this, man, because his decision making, right, many a times, regardless of whether there's a fullback there or not for support, when it's him and it's his decision, he's made a lot of bad decisions. I'm talking about, you know, clear passes for him to play, opts to slow the game down, clear times where he needs to slow the game down, but will run with the ball instead of passing. Clear times where, again, he makes it very easy for opposition fullbacks to read what he's going to do, which he touched on, cut in, either a shot that's dinked, either a shot that's whipped to the far post that goes out for a goal kick, or a cross that isn't good enough that's hung up with snow on it and goes to nobody. And I just think he doesn't make good enough decisions in the attacking phase. what I do like about him is that he does work really hard. When he's not there, we saw last year, we did miss that outlet. And when he's at it, which is really frustrating, actually, sometimes he can just drop his shoulder and he's gone. And you go, actually, do that. Take your man down the outside. And he put in a cross yesterday for Bruno by doing that. He looked like he should have crossed it first time, stopped, give the defender a little shimmy, went on his right foot and just swung his right foot across. And Bruno actually should have scored. And I stood up and I clapped and I went, that's exactly what I want to see, Antony. You can take your man both ways. Because right now, if I'm a left back, I'm going, this guy's not going to take me down the outside. He's not going to take me down there. So I just want to see him have that variation to his game and make the key decisions where he needs to, because I think he gets into good enough positions to be able to make better decisions. And that's why I get frustrated with him.
Who's responsible for him making those runs and doing those actions? Who's responsible for that? Who should demand that from him?
The coach needs to demand that from him, but the problem isn't him getting into the positions. Because if I'm Ten Hag, I'm saying, you're in the positions, big man. You're there. Like you can make the pass. You're in the positions I want you to be in. You're just not executing correctly because of your own negligence.
Right? It's as simple as that, right? If he's not doing it, but as a coach you are demanding it, you should sub him.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
It doesn't matter because he's trying to improve and he carries out the orders. If he's denying him, you should sub him. So I think the stubborn coach that Ten Hag is, and the way I know him, he is not demanding that from him. This is what I think. Knowing from last year.
Do you think there's a little bit of like he doesn't want to lose face, like because that's his guy, 80 million. Pellistri, I would play him a lot more, but Ten Hag doesn't think so. Do you think does he stand by his actual signings like to the death? Like, just I don't want to admit embarrassment on that, so let me just keep leaving him there.
I mean, that's a stubbornness, right? That's Ten Hag. He wants to stick to what he with what he wants, in what he believes in, and he will keep on playing him. And the funny thing about what you just mentioned about Antony not only cutting inside, if you look at his training on a training ground, he does everything: dribble past his opponent, going to the back line, cutting inside. So it's not that he can't do it; it's only that he doesn't show it during a match, and that's the frustrating part.
Yeah, and what is behind that? Is it coaching orders or is it bad decisions and lack of confidence by the player? Because that's all optional.
Probably all. Yeah, probably all. I really hope he starts to improve, and I will hold my hands up. I think he improved yesterday, like what Kenny said.
I thought it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
It was a lot of people. It was a lot of people's man of the matches today. I know, and Bruno, and Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, I was going to say Bruno. Yeah,
it was excellent. Bruno and Wan-Bissaka on the right hand side were excellent yesterday.
One last thing. I think that there's price tag expectations also there. Don't forget, you overpaid for him. I already said it in several streams that we had in the past. He was worth 50, 60, 70 tops.
Yeah.
He is not the finished product. He's a young guy, not having that many caps in the Brazilian squad yet. Was proven in the Eredivisie, did well in Europe. But he isn't the finished product yet. So don't let him fool you with that 100 million that you expect the moon from him. He is still not a finished product. So the price tag also gives expectations towards the player. And this is something that is maybe not always fair.
Listen, guys, the show, as usual, when you guys are on, just goes like that. It is the end of the show already. Thank you for everyone for getting involved. I'm just going to read out the last super chats that we may have missed during that time. Where was we? It's been a pleasure. I believe in Bruno. Trying to frustrate Steph. It's not working there. There you go, Paolo. Well, I think we did that actually. No, we read that already. DJ. I think it was after DJ. There you go. VK says, love seeing our Ajax bros. The only thing is FFP is a budget set that ensures the Glazers gets their dividends. 38 games, so hang tight for more Ten Hag freestyle. Avi says, Flex just signed Eyejax deadline day. Yeah, there's negotiations. There could be negotiations. I have to speak to his agents. Speak to Sahbi's agents. Maybe there's a deadline day deal to be done. Danny says, mass apologies, Steph. Just pretty one of this bunch. Oh, we're ugly. Apparently, we're ugly. And I think that's what it means. V33 says, how is it Eric Ten Hag's fault? Kim Min-jae went to Bayern. Amrabat still not bought. Kane was missed. And Deadwood not sold, with Eric Ten Hag having to depend on them as subs. And Ahmed says, Antony does get those through balls, and most times he stops or slows down the play. Thank you so much for coming on, Eyejax, Sahbi. It's always great to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Great to have you. It's always fun, man. You guys are part of the family.
Kenny, come for an hour.
It just flies by. We need to do for 2 hours. Kenny, always a pleasure. Steph, great to have you back in. Everyone's enjoyed having you in as well. And thank you to you guys as well watching at home. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another transfer view. Hopefully some more news on Amrabat. Hopefully some more news on this left-back situation. I've got to give up on the looking at in-house because clearly Fernandez is going to go. So I need to get my head around who, like Steph said, out of the evils that I would prefer, because I'm not sure. Because Cucurella for me, nah. Anyway, take care, guys. We'll see you all again very soon. Take care. Peace.
Take care, everyone.